Well, we knew it was too good to be true. The dream is over. The Tampa Bay Lightning lose. That's the news. They lose, okay?
Now just end the season now.
I mean, they're not going to go very far this way. They fall to Carolina. First, they fell behind 3-0 in like the first, 6 minutes or something like that.
Yep.
Then they battled their butts off, tied it, fell down 4-3, tied it. Could have come out of it with a point, and then they wind up losing 5-4. You said
Gage Gonsalves took a bad offensive zone penalty.
Yeah.
And led to a power play, and Carolina scores on the third, and they win 5-4. So
Yeah. You said something before we came on. This is the game you expected the first game back, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't think they played great against Toronto. I thought both teams were kind of sloppy. 3-week off break. Some of the guys from the Olympics, maybe mentally tired, et cetera.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of didn't think they'd play great. On Wednesday night, they played probably better than I expected, but I didn't think it was a great game. Right. But then tonight, back-to-back, Carolina was playing their first game back, so the back-to-back advantage, although they hadn't played in 3 weeks, so you weren't sure what to expect. I think both teams were sloppy, just as the same. I think this is just finding their game, finding their rhythm, and quite frankly, figuring out how to get that mental game picked back up, because the Lightning are sitting at 80 points through 57 games. They can go 10-20 or 10-15 the last 25 games, and they'll have 100 points. They can lose 3 out of every 5 games.
So what's their motivation, in other words?
So, well, yeah, and it's figuring out how to ramp up that intensity. I don't know if it's a motivation, because I think they want to play well. But how do you get that rhythm back, that intensity back? And it may take a couple games. And so the first 2 weren't pretty. You got 2 points out of them. You won the home game, lost the road game against a very good Carolina team. But Braden Point's back, and he's playing well. Hopefully Anthony Cirelli's back Saturday. And you go from there. So,
yeah, and Jonas Johansson hasn't played in about a month, right? And not that he was the reason they lost, but they did give up 5 goals around him. They had some bad turnovers and things, but he's rusty at best too. So, that's all part of it. But 22-1, something like that.
Yep, 20 wins, 2 losses, and 1 overtime loss in the last 23. So,
you'll take it.
That's not very good.
It's not. That'll play. That'll play. It's just a matter of eating up games now and not looking at the calendar, because, to your point, they're going to make the postseason. It's just a matter of what position, and that's not even that relevant necessarily. But
yeah, I don't think they care about that. It's really just about trying to stay healthy and get their game in order.
Yeah. John Cooper is missed his second game. Of course, he lost his father shortly after he got, I guess the Olympics were done. And so he's supposed to rejoin the team the next game, maybe? Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Cooper will be back Saturday for the home game against Buffalo.
Right. That's a good one.
Like I said, hopefully Anthony Cirelli's back.
Mm-hmm.
Now if you get Cirelli back, you're just missing really Max Crozier had surgery. He's out for the rest of the regular season. You're missing Nick Paul.
The injury that Point had, the sprained MCL, he looks pretty damn good. Point's
3 goals in the 2 games, and
yeah. I mean, think about it.
Now, the honest truth is he was probably ready to come back a couple days into the break.
Right.
So it's not like he just got cleared and is just ramping up. Like, he's been probably skating really hard for the last 2 weeks.
Yeah. He just didn't go to the Olympics, but he was ready to play.
Yeah. Yep. So, but he's been skating hard. He looks fast on the ice.
Oh, yeah. He looks really fast. Yeah, all those are good signs. They're going to be fine. It's one game, but yeah, it's entertaining. I mean, I didn't expect it. When I turned it on, they were already down 3-0, and I watched the comeback, and I'm like, okay, here we go. These guys are going to just steal this one from Carolina, but was not to be. So we'll see what they do at home coming up against Buffalo, which is a pretty good team in and of itself. So I wanted to go over, well, first of all, every year the NFLPA has been doing report cards for the last, 4, 5, 6 years, something like that. It feels like it always happens right around the NFL Combine when those results are released, except this year the NFL had filed a grievance against the NFLPA, and they won the grievance, and therefore this information was not to be made public by the union. Okay. Not surprisingly, it leaked. And
What? You're kidding me.
I don't know how these things get out. How do they get out?
I can't believe it.
I know. It's stunning but true.
According to my sources.
Yeah, according to my sources, actually, it was the Athletic. I think that that may have broken this one. To be honest with you, but nonetheless, it got out there. And what's interesting about these things is that they kind of all follow a certain pattern in a sense. But in the case of the Buccaneers, um, I would have expected, because I remember last year they got dinged pretty hard for things like, stinky locker room, right? Various, minor complaints. A couple years ago, it was the way they treated families because they didn't have daycare, like in the during game days and things like that. Well, the folks that got dinged the most, like the Bucs, among ownership, like when they rank a lot of different categories, and maybe the most important one being owners, the Bucs were third to last in ownership. They went down actually. They had a D plus a year ago, and now they were just a D. That's the third worst grade in the league. Only the Steelers, who got a D minus, and I'll tell you about them, and the Cardinals, who received the only F, were among the 32 teams that were just south of the Buccaneers.
Hey, the Glazers didn't fail.
No, they weren't last. Hey, if you're not first, you're last. And the Steelers were a D minus primarily because they just have totally antiquated stuff, right? From the locker room to the stadium to the equipment, all that. They're just their players, I guess, in the survey were pretty surly about just how antiquated everything is. And the Cardinals are the Cardinals. I mean, Bill Bedwell has been one of the cheaper owners in the league for years and years. He had some success with Bruce Arians, but for the most part, not. And so that's not totally shocking, but it is. I will say this: it's sort of disappointing because, look, I'm not. I don't cover any other team. I do. I have followed the Glazers pretty closely. I know last year among the complaints. And I think most owners take some of these things to heart, even though they won a grievance, against the NFLPA for this, and they were supposed to be not made public. But that aside, I think the Glazers took some of it to heart. Like I know a year ago they complained about the unsanitary locker rooms and the air quality and this and that, and Glazers went in and redid the entire shower area. They put in fairly expensive air filters to keep it smelling better and clean in there. And you could, I mean, we go in there twice a week, right? It's not a pleasant place to hang out, but we do. But you could definitely tell a difference. It would look better, seem cleaner, all that. So they at least responded to many things. I think even before that, they complained. The players did that they weren't very good to their families. And one of the complaints was that they didn't have daycare for young children during games, during game day. And so the Bucs went in and made that available. So they've responded to some of the things, and yet they're not getting rewarded for it. They still got a D. But a lot of these sort of follow a pattern. Like if you look at the grades throughout the league, and I think it's just human nature. Like if you ever taken a survey, and my company does this too. It's like, hey, these are confidential. We want to know what you think, and they're anonymous. Well, how are they anonymous if you send them to me by email, right? Like, I'm on your list, but if I send it back, regardless, I think that some people are not really sure about the anonymity of this stuff. And so
not only that, in email, if you ever look at the link you click,
yeah,
it's, .com/
right,
X249, and there's a million different letters and numbers. It's a unique link to everybody it was sent. They know exactly who clicked on it.
Yeah.
They know exactly what email it came from.
Right.
Like there's nothing anonymous about it.
And I think
if they're using a third party, you hope the third party anonymously or doesn't give them back anything.
Yeah.
That would be pertain to, who did what, but they know exactly who it is when it's through email.
And ultimately, it never turns out very good for the teams. I mean, that's why the NFL argued that the survey violated the CBA by disparaging NFL clubs and individuals. They said they would cherry pick comments and things. But typically, almost to a team, you see this pattern where the trainers in particular always score the highest. The weight room high, um, and the reason for that is quite frankly, if you're a player, you spend a lot of time with those trainers and in that weight room, and they set programs for you. So if you want to ding those guys as a team, they're going to destroy you in workouts. Like you're not going to get any kind of run at all in there. So the strength coaches received an A for the Bucs. The weight room received an A minus. That was the highest marks. And overall, the training room was just a C, and the training staff was a C plus, which is above average. But remember now, they also went in there and they fired 5 coaches, 2 retired. As far as the assistants go, they scored pretty well. Here's what's interesting is that Todd Bowles has blamed Josh Grizzard for everything you can blame him for, including his lapse on defense because he said he had to help with the offense during game day. Grizzard got a B, and as a defensive coordinator portion of his job, Bowles got an A minus, and that didn't really match what we saw on the field necessarily. Even the special teams coach, Thomas McGahee, who I guess is, the thing about special teams is you coach offense and defense, so all the players kind of know you and have to buy in a little bit. He received a C plus, and they were god awful. They had block punts and field goals all over the place. So he's also one of the guys they fired. But
like for Grizzard, when was this survey taken? Was it after the season? During
no,
the
it
season?
was taken in late November, early December.
So
actually.
you didn't know Josh Grizzard was going to be fired.
You did not, but you had it
after the season. After the season, it may have been rated even lower because you're not worried about the repercussions.
Maybe, yeah, but you at least had seen him in action for all but 1 month or so.
Right, but what I'm saying is if you don't believe it's anonymous, you're not gonna crush your position coach or your coordinator.
Right. I think that's true.
Because he could be back next year. I mean, you had no indication to think they would, in early November, the Bucs were still in first place and leading the division, and so you would think that Grizzard would be back.
Yeah, it was taken November 2nd to December 11th, and there were 750 players that participated in all these, which is about 80% of all the players. So there was a good sample of feedback. And the Bucs scored
20% didn't check their spam folder or something.
I guess the Glazers and their team received poor grades for travel, which I almost can accept because they're not known to take big planes. And what I mean by that is, sometimes if they're going West Coast or something, they'll get a larger plane and guys can spread out a little bit. But for the most part, there's people within their staff that are told they can't travel because there's not enough seats. And you should never really run out, if you're a National Football League team. They carry a lot of equipment and a lot of trainers and a lot of coaches and all that. So I get it, but they don't fly the big jets unless they're going a long, long way. So they typically get dinged for. They get dinged for, I guess they don't like the food's not very good, and there's a lot of nitpicking that goes on. But I will say this: like, are the Glazers the best team from an ownership standpoint? No, they're not. They're by far not the worst or the third worst. I mean, by far. The team that rated the highest in this thing was the Miami Dolphins. So those players are so well treated that they can't win the division, with a franchise quarterback, and they fired their coach. So you can't blame ownership. I guess it's something else. But they were the highest scoring, I guess, team or the highest graded team among these report cards. So do that with what you want, but it's not really equating to winning necessarily. It's just how guys feel about their circumstance. But I'd be if 80% of my players felt that I was the problem. Oh, the other thing was they didn't like the home game experience, and they were talking specifically about the field conditions, which is interesting because Tampa had been known as one of the more manicured, venues for, it's a grass field first and foremost. But USF does play there, and they play very, very often the night before where they have to cut a large swath of grass out of the center of the field for the logos and things like that. And it can be patchy. It can be uneven sometimes. And it's not good that you get a bad grade for the playing surface, which is not what I didn't expect that. I didn't see that one coming. So it's Festivus. It's Festivus around here. Everybody gets to complain about something. But I think it's unfair. The Glazers are not the third worst ownership group. They have put money into that product. Again, are they the top of the heap? No, but they're certainly not the worst or the third worst in my opinion. Pittsburgh, storied franchise. I get it just because you've been, playing in some facilities that aren't quite up to standard and they haven't really put money back into it. So I get that. I don't get this one. I'm not trying to be a show for the Glazers. I think they're responsive when they hear stuff. And again, are they Bob Kraft? No, but even Bob Kraft, this was interesting. Their travel got dinged, and he bought their own planes. He's like the one owner that has his own planes for these guys.
And apparently, those planes aren't good enough.
I know they must not be very nice. Let's go. So
do they not stay in nice hotels? I mean, the travel part can
be a lot of things. That's right. That's right.
Can be the food on the plane. Can be the.
There's comments though, like within it, and I didn't get to read what the Bucs comments were this time. They weren't published. Typically, there's a bunch of specific things that are complained about.
You remember the Yankees a year or two ago didn't pay for Wi-Fi on the flight.
That's right.
Is it could it be stuff like that then also travel stinks like.
Absolutely. It can be all that, and nobody likes the food. It's just, hey man, it's free.
It's food on an airplane. What do you expect?
I know. Well, they feed you constantly. I mean, so I've flown with them about 3 times, and to me, they can't make it any easier for you. You park your car at the facility. You get on a bus. The bus rolls right to the tarmac. Like you go through TSA at your facility or thereabouts, or if you're leaving the stadium. They have their own private, check your bag stuff sort of thing. They take all your bags. And so, you just have to get on the bus, show up. And then on your way into the airplane, they're handing you a box, something of food, chicken, or whatever it is, just on the way in. And then once you get settled, they're coming by with, you want a drink, beverage, whatever. And then they come by with a full meal. And then sometimes they hand you something coming off the plane. Like I've only needed a 2-hour flight or an hour. So, it's not hard duty, to be honest with you. And then when you leave the stadium after the game, you're not going through a TSA line. You're going to get checked right there at the stadium, get on a bus. Bus takes you right to, not to the terminal, but to the actual plane. You up the stairs. It's like you're flying on Air Force One or something. You're right in the airplane. So not that hard to travel compared to like say baseball where you might be away on the road for 14 days. This is just up and back for the most part. And that can get tiring in and of itself, but they don't like the way they travel. They don't like the field very much. Like there's a lot of things and we'll see if the Bucs are responsive to it. I don't know what they're going to do in some cases, but they sure like the coaches, and they like Josh Grizzard, which apparently the players liked him a hell of a lot more than Todd Bowles did because he's now blamed him for his defense and a bad offense, to be honest with you. So it's kind of weird. We've got a few medical. We got a few mailbag questions. It might be medical questions. We got a few mailbag questions that we saved going into the weekend. First, want to tell you guys to get on down to Breitling Boutique International Plaza Mall, best mall in Tampa for my money, not too far from the airport and $1 place. And you're going to go to the middle of the mall, second floor. That's where you're going to find the Breitling Boutique. Breitling has been making the best Swiss watches now for over 140 years. They've been at International Plaza for going on 6 now. And you're going to love the customer service, man. That's the first thing you're going to notice. Go in there, let them pour you a drink, tell you about their beautiful watches, men's watches, the chronomats, the Navatimers that they're known for. They also have watches for your wife, your girlfriend. These are sports watches, incredibly durable, really beautiful. She gets to choose her own colored wristband, whatever she likes. And the one thing that I want you to take notice of, especially if you're a listener to this podcast, it might interest you, is the big NFL shield outside the store, and underneath their window displays, they have Breitling Company is now celebrating the NFL's 104th year anniversary with 32 different team watches, and they're not all in the window. There's about 3 or 4. It includes the Buccaneers and the Jaguars. Last time I checked, these are Chronomat watches for men. They have the team colors as the face of the watch, the logo inside. They're stunning. They really are. They're collector's items. You're not going to find a better watch anywhere. It's Breitling Boutique, International Plaza Mall. When you go, please let them know you heard about it right here on Sports Day Tampa Bay. All right, we got some time to wrap up the week with a few questions in our mailbag.
All right, we'll start with Lucy, who said, it's tough to swallow, but I'm guessing Mike Evans leaves for a better chance to win a Super Bowl. I hope I'm wrong. Todd Bowles is a good guy, but keeping him after that disaster seems more like punting than actively trying to improve, and that's a turnoff.
I don't know that he's leaving because of the coach. Although, I don't think Mike was happy about anything. I think, he's really a competitive guy. If you figure he has 2 to 3 years left to play, he's going to look for two things: the most money he can get, which that's what free agency is. Okay, it's usually teams overpaying for somebody else's player, and then someplace where he thinks he can win a ring. Because I'm telling you, and his agent has said it, he was so mad, and he's so competitive that coming off the field, 3rd and 28, losing the 14-point lead against Atlanta, losing every game down the stretch practically, especially the last 4, when you just needed one more to get in the playoffs, really did not sit well with him. And when you hear his agent, Derek Gilmore, say things like, well, Mike wanted to let everybody know. He told me to let everybody know that the Bucs are really in good hands at the receiver position. Those guys are really, really good. All right. Well, in other words, I'm leaving you better than I found you,
Mm-hmm.
Don't blame me. You guys will be fine, kind of thing, Mom's
Let's
gonna,
not forget,
gonna
too.
take care
Let's
of you.
not forget. Tom Brady came here and showed Mike kind of the way.
He did. He really
to win a
did.
Super Bowl in this. But what did Tom Brady do? At the end of his career, he didn't think he could win one in New England, whether it because of the rift with Bill Belichick or whatever. And so he went to a team that had the talent to win.
Mm-hmm.
And he did.
Yep.
And so Mike's at the end of his career, maybe a year, 2, 3, whatever's left. And if he's going to follow in Tom Brady's footsteps, which he does a lot of stuff like Tom, and Tom taught him and showed him, it would make sense he's looking at, is there a better opportunity out there?
Yeah, and Tom's had a huge influence on him. That's why he's still playing, quite frankly. And he knows sometimes you have to leave to get the best deal financially as well, especially in free agency. But he showed Mike and others that there is life after the franchise that you've spent so many years with. There's other ways to do it, and it is fun to be courted, and it is great to be wanted, and all those things that you didn't get to feel for the last few years because you've been with the same team. And maybe he wants to feel it, but you're right. He's had the example come right through Tampa. And Tom taught Mike a lot of things like taking care of your body. And what if you ate right? And what if you did these things and now you could get a third contract? And what would you do with all that money and all the people you want to help? So he absolutely has influenced him. And so he knows the template is there. He can leave, win a Super Bowl somewhere else, just like Tom Brady did. But I don't think Mike thinks that this team is going to get there. I think he loves Baker. I think he really likes Bowles. I mean, he likes a lot. Obviously, he's got an affinity for Tampa. The fans adore him and all that. But I think the money's going to be bigger, number one, and I think the opportunity is going to be better. And I think he knows that. We'll see. I'm leaning heavily that he's not going to be back. And I think the Bucs saying stuff like, "We want him back. Of course, we want him back. We love Mike. We do anything to get him back." Well, you're not doing anything, because if you really loved him that way, as we said before, you would not let him get to free agency. Because 2 years ago, that was the case. You knew that if he got there, he's probably gone. Same thing would apply 2 years later. So unless you're going to sign him before the start of the free agent signing period, then there's a good chance you're going to lose him. So I think we're all kind of preparing for that. But I don't know that I've seen this a lot. People have written and said, well, it's Bowles. If Todd wasn't here, he would stay. I don't think it's that simplistic. I just think the team is not where it needs to be right now. And he's got one last bite of the apple. If you're gonna do it, you got to do it now. There won't be a contract after this one.
All right. Jay Fed, it's kind of on a similar notion. Says last year, local and national media said, quote, Bucs good culture and talent. But injuries happened. Bucs picked to go far in the playoffs. So why do we think Mike Evans would leave if the 26 Bucs stay healthy? Same team and culture, so why leave? Money is key, but if Bucs work it out, won't he stay?
Again, I think if he gets either the money and or they convince him that they're going to get better, because the culture was okay. There's not, Sam Weiss used to say this, and he didn't have many winning seasons, but Weiss used to say you can have a losing season but still a losing record but still have a good year. And what I mean by that is there was no bitching. The guys got along. They put everything into every week. Nobody was folding up the tent and pointing fingers, at least not till the end of the season when the coach did. But it's the culture is good, and if they stayed healthy, yeah, I think the offense, starting with the offensive line, which was obliterated. But the interesting thing about that is, while they were missing all those pieces, they were winning 5 and 6 games. Now Bowles has said it. Hey, we weren't world beaters. We were, pulling it out in the last drive, and we were executing that way. But that was kind of a house of cards, and it fell apart. So I think they'll, in this division, I don't think it would take much for them to be a favorite, and certainly to win. They could win the division. I mean, Atlanta, new coach, obviously. Michael Penix Jr. coming off a major injury. You don't know what Stefanski's, sort of Kevin Stefanski's impact will be right away. New Orleans, I still think it's maybe a year away, but who knows? I mean, they beat the Bucs, and they won a bunch of games down the stretch. Carolina, by the way, did I see where Dave Canales is giving up play calling? I think that's true. I think I read that somewhere. If true, I'm not surprised, because I was told his play calling was not very stellar. So that's probably a good move on his part. But I don't think the Panthers are, even though they won the division a year ago, it's hard to say they're not there yet because they actually took the division. But they did it with 8 games. They're certainly not unbeatable. I think the Bucs will be favored again if, and this is a big if they have a good draft, find an inside linebacker, acquire an edge rusher somewhere, somehow, right? But that's a lot of ifs and not much room in the salary cap. And Mike knows that. He can see this roster. He knows they have talent. Could they get right back where they were? Absolutely. Because of this division. It's still not, Michael Penix is coming off a major injury. We mentioned Tyler Shuck. Carolina's Carolina. So, yeah, they could win it again. But are you going to go deep into the playoffs? If you win your division at 9-8 or 10-7 or whatever, how many games are you going to win? Todd Bowles is 1-3 in the playoffs. Is he going to win 3 games and win a Super Bowl? Is he going to win 2 and go to the Super Bowl? Like, I don't know that they have that kind of team. I don't think they'll be, every year we say there's about 6 or 7 teams that could legitimately win a Super Bowl. Most of us can pick them. I don't know that anyone would have picked New England last year at the start of the year because they're coming off back-to-back 4-win seasons. People would have probably picked Seattle at some point. I think that wouldn't have been that far-fetched, But I don't think people are picking the Bucs next year to go to the Super Bowl. And the year before that, maybe some did. I don't know. But they could still win the division and still go a long way. I just don't think Mike's looking for a sure thing. He's looking for Patrick Mahomes. He's looking for Josh Allen, I think. If he doesn't, then I don't know. Then he's chasing money, which I think, while he's going to get paid and probably get paid more outside of $1, I don't know that that's his number one primary motivation right now. I think it's winning. So could they get back? It is a good culture. Yes. If they lose Mike, a lot of that culture leaves with him because, he brought it every single day. And you need guys like that, especially your best players. When your best players are your most competitive guys, when they're the guys that set the tone for everybody else, that's what you want. And when that walks out of the building, don't expect younger players to just assume that role. Everyone will have to step up, Mecca and Jalen and all those guys in the receiver room, but don't expect anyone to be Mike Evans, especially, this soon. So it's tough, but they they could win the division with or without Mike if they can keep Baker healthy, if the offensive line stays together, and they get some help in the draft or free agency on defense. And I don't know what they're going to do, but they got to do something. And maybe if they do something the first couple of days, like some splash trade, and I don't know, they're going to get Crosby from the Raiders necessarily, but if you made some moves pretty early on in training camp, or I'm sorry, in free agency, maybe that says a signal to Mike that, okay, they're all in. Maybe he's looking for that. But it only takes one team, and if he gets out to free agency, I'm not crazy optimistic.
Brad Idzik is now calling the plays in Carolina, by the way.
Yeah, I saw that, and I think that's a good move because whatever you want to say about Dave Canales, he did not get that job because he was a great play caller. And I've had people tell me shouldn't be near a playbook. And even though Young has gotten better, they average under 20 points a game. And it's hard to win a division when you don't score 20 points in average.
Well, you can make someone better and not be a good play caller. I mean,
yeah.
We know how positive he is and what an influence he can be.
And that's what I think his gift is.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? There's a lot of head coaches that are walk around CEO coaches. They don't call plays.
Mm-hmm. There's lots of them.
The guy in Detroit, Dan
John Harbaugh doesn't call plays.
John Harbaugh's never called plays. And you don't have to, but you got to have that presence. You have to be that CEO coach that coaches the coaches and sets the tone for the rest of the team, makes the tough decisions, and just runs the team.
I mean, here in Tampa, Bruce Arians wasn't calling plays when they won a Super Bowl.
He was not. And everybody said he was, but he wasn't. He wasn't redlining things like he was accused of. So yeah, you have to, you have to know your strengths. And Canales was called the optimist bully for a reason. He was great for Baker. Baker needed that when he first got here. He needed somebody to pump him back up and regain his confidence, all that stuff. He also just needed a better play caller. So we'll get to see what Brad Idzik can do, son of John Idzik, who was here for years and years with the Buccaneers and former Jets general manager and things like that. So, I think it'll be better for Carolina, quite frankly. I think it'll be better for Bryce Young. And that's scary because they won the division last year. They're going to get better with another draft and so on. So, but I think Dave's doing the right thing. I mean, if you're going to be, and here's the thing. Now, Dave had not won a Super Bowl, nor does he have a reputation before he became a head coach as a great offensive coordinator. He did it 1 year. Okay. In Seattle, he was quarterbacks coach, receivers, all that. But, Todd Bowles might benefit from someone else calling the defense, and he's not going to think about it. He's just going to hope he spends more time during game days not worrying about offense, and supposedly that'll make him better. But, he has not come to that sort of epiphany yet, and we'll see if he ever does. But he feels like he's the best guy to do it. He's going to do it. But for Dave, I think it's a really good move, a really smart move.
All right, Scott sent a note in. He says, hey, love the show.
Yeah,
when Tom Brady was here, it seemed like half the team was working out with Alex Guerrero at TB12. Does that still happen, or did it fizzle out once Tom left?
It does not happen. I'm not sure. I don't know if TB2, to be honest with you, I haven't been down our media to know if that enterprise is still there or not. I would suspect it's not. I don't know that him and Guerrero had a split per se, but I think they may have gone a different way with that company, or the name of it at least. I'm not. I got to be honest, I'm not that in tune with what's up with TB12, but I do know that, while Tom was here, it wasn't just Tom and Guerrero. He got almost the entire roster after workouts, after doing the stuff at their facility, to then go and get, the TB12 treatment with the stretching and the bands and the, all that extra stuff. And, guys swore by it. They loved it. And then when Tom left, I think, Guerrero and him, they didn't really split, but they weren't together in business necessarily in that side of it. So I don't know what's happened to that enterprise. Somebody could tell me, I'll look it up, but I don't think it's still there. I could be wrong. I have not heard of players going there. If it is certainly not at the rate that it was before, where, it was almost a thing where practice was over and then boom, you're a half mile away, on our media and you're going to TB12. So I think all that's kind of changed, but that was a good gig, and he was half owner, so whatever money that the Glazers were spending to pay all those bills for those trainers, he benefited from it. There are ways around the salary cap, that and private appearances where you're compensated. That helps too. If you got a lot of rich friends that want you to talk to their Rotary Club or something, you can make that happen as well. Busy weekend. As we mentioned, the Lightning are back in town. They're going to take on
the
Buffalo.
Sabres Saturday night before they go on the road for 4 next week. So.
Yep. So chance to go see them. I think there's a chance my daughter wants to see them Saturday. Should I go?
Yeah.
What do you think? I'm not a jinx anymore.
Well, the streak is snapped, so the 6-game win streak snapped.
There you go. So I'm not risking that. It's
but
just
the last game you were at, they won. Now, granted, it wasn't at Benchmark International Arena.
It was a hell of a game, and they came back down 5-1. So I can't say I'm a bad luck charm. I stuck around for the whole thing, so maybe I'll go. Saturday night sounds like fun. Good team, Buffalo. We'll see.
Yep. And it's Sunday, the Grand Prix of St. Petersburg.
Wow, that came up fast. I didn't realize that.
Yep.
Yeah, we're almost to the Grand Prix Valspar double.
Valspar's a couple weeks away. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're getting, and then before you know it, maybe they'll actually play real baseball.
No, well, spring training, we're less than a month from opening day. So.
Has the World Classic started? The World, whatever they call that thing?
I think it's March 6th, I think it starts.
Okay.
So, no, it has not.
We're still a week or two away?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's always fun. I like that. I like the international flavor of those games. I think it's cool.
When they created it, I wasn't a fan.
Yeah.
I wasn't necessarily a fan of the Four Nations last year when the NHL did it, but then you see it played.
It was phenomenal last year.
The passion and from the World Baseball Classic to the Four Nations, like you see the passion and the way the players get into it, and so then you start going, I love this, like it's great.
I thought it was great. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the World Baseball Classic a few years ago was fantastic.
It also told me that other than building up pitchers' arms, you don't really need to have that much spring training. You just don't.
And remember how great Randy Rosarino was in it and then coming out of it?
That was when the Rays got off to that great, were they 13-0 to start the season, something like that? He carried them. He had all that fire, and he was in midseason form, and everybody else was just starting to get their first at-bats.
Yep. Well, now they need Junior Caminero to carry him.
I know, right? I worry about Junior, man. He's such a great player. I don't want him to turn into Mike Trout, if the Rays aren't going to invest in the product, but we'll see where that goes. I'm excited to see him back at the Trop, though. I know it's a long way, especially for me, but it's still cool. I'm fine there. I'm good. Let's keep the roof on it, man. It's fine. So, yeah, get on down to Breitling Boutique. As always, go check out the beautiful watches they have there. NFL watches, 104th year anniversary, 32-team watches, but it's while supplies last. Breitling Boutique, International Plaza. Let them know you heard about it right here on Sports Day Tampa Bay. Thanks for listening each and every day, all week long. We appreciate you. We'll be back on Monday. For Steve Versnick, I'm Rick Stroud. Have a great weekend, everybody.